ABC Sports presents the National League champion St. Louis Cardinals against the American League champion Minnesota Twins in Game 7 of the 1987 World Series. And this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Aetna and its insurance agents and brokers across America. Work with the best in the business, Aetna. By IBM. And by Chevrolet, the official car and truck of Major League Baseball. The 1987 baseball season concludes tonight. The 7th game of the World Series under the dome in Minneapolis. The St. Louis Cardinals against the Minnesota Twins. It's McGrain against Viola. I'm Al Michaels, and isn't this the way it should be? You start at the end of February and you finish it on the 25th of October, one game for the championship. This is the 84th World Series. This is the 31st time it has gone to a 7th game. And for what it's worth, 17 of the prior 30 have been won by the visiting teams. No World Series has ever gone the route with the home team winning every game, and certainly the Twins hope to accomplish that tonight. Tim McCarver, you're a man who played in 3 7th games with the Cardinals in '64 and '67 and '68, and certainly the St. Louis Cardinals are no strangers to 7th games.
Well, I should say not. As a matter of fact, the last 7 World Series in which the Cardinals have participated dated back to 1946. All 7 series have gone to 7 games. The odds on that, 3,400 to 1. And speaking of odds, what are the odds on a rookie starting the 7th game of the World Series? Well, in the 10 series that the Cardinals have played 7 games, no rookie has ever started, and tonight it'll be Joe McGrain, the left-hander, on the mound. Joe with an 11-9 record this year. And I don't really believe that it's going to be a problem physically for McGrain tonight. I believe that facing from a mental standpoint, the intense heat that the crowd can put on young players, especially here in the Metrodome, is going to be the major problem.
And if he falters early on 2 days rest, it would be Danny Cox in long relief. Well, Tim played in 3 7th games. Jim Palmer has been a part of a couple of teams. Baltimore that went to a 7th game on 2 occasions. What's the mood like in the clubhouse before a 7th game?
Well, what's so interesting is about the 2 World Series that I didn't play in, but I watched, which was 1971 and 1979. We were poised to win. We had the right people out there, and we were always thwarted by 1 or 2 players. 1971, Steve Blass beat us 2-1. Roberto Clemente with great hitting. And then in 1979, Scotty McGregor on the mound for the Orioles. Willie Stargell with a home run to beat us. And if you go back to 1965 with the Twins here in Minneapolis, Sandy Koufax on 2 days rest comes out of nowhere to shut him out with 10 strikeouts, 2-0. But the most interesting thing about baseball to me as a former player is when I go back and think about a baseball season, exhibition games, about 30 of them, 162 games that you trudge through, and you battle through a playoff. Then you get to a World Series and you find yourself all of a sudden in a 7th game. You know what to do to win, but only one team can win.
Put your feet up and settle back. It's a magical phrase in itself. The 7th game of the World Series.
Listen to the heartbeat of America. Listen to the heartbeat of America. Oh yeah.
It's the rhythm on the road. It's the pulse on the street.
Pulse on the street.
City and town, a magic sound.
Feel the heartbeat of America. Chevrolet.
That's today, Chevrolet.
In McDonald's, we're tossing salads fresh all day. Every day.
I mean, it's fresh when you get it, and it's fresh when I pop it in my mouth. It's like having somebody come in your own kitchen and make you a salad.
I come through the drive-thru, it's quick, it's easy.
McDonald's Chef Salad, Chicken Salad Oriental, and Garden Salad. For a taste that's tossed fresh.
It's really crisp and fresh.
My taste buds just went crazy.
Tossed fresh all day. McDonald's Salads.
Recently, DuPont discovered people with great carpets had to make great saves. So DuPont developed certified Stainmaster carpet. Now even if a stain like this sits for hours, it's a memory in minutes with DuPont Stainmaster. Sooner or later, you're gonna need it. Stainmaster, only from DuPont.
Your face takes enough abuse, so you need the Gillette Good News Plus disposable. Its Lubra-Smooth strip is designed to reduce irritation, so shaving feels so good. Good News Plus.
My dandruff shampoo is good.
Better try something else. Mine really works.
You'd better try something else, like Selsun Blue. Doctors recommend it more than all of the leading brands. None get rid of dandruff better than Selsun Blue.
Tuesday, there's a new boy in Sam's life.
He's funny, he's bright, he's aware.
And he's wasting no time.
Well, what's going on?
You told me to be nice to him.
Who's the boss? Then talk about growing pains.
Come on, I'm dribbling here.
So use your sleeve.
Tuesday.
The LA Rams, the Cleveland Browns. They meet on ABC's NFL Monday Night Football, plus regional coverage of the Denver, Minnesota game.
Line. With us tonight are three individuals who each in their own way have contributed greatly to the success of Minnesota baseball. Baseball first honors the former president of the Twins, who continues to serve as the club's executive committee, Mr. Howard Fox. Mr. Fox will present baseballs to each of tonight's two honored guests. We now honor the man who brought baseball to the Twin Cities in 1961, the former owner of the Twins, Mr. Calvin Griffith. Calvin's side is a man who kept baseball in Minnesota in 1984, Mr. Carl Pohlad. Gentlemen, the stage is set for Game 7 of the World Series. Fire when ready. American League champion, Minnesota Twins.
And it's on to the seventh game as the Twins, to a raucous ovation, a Homer hanky waving ovation, take the field. Cardinal lineup, Vince Coleman to lead off. Ozzie Smith batting second. Tommy Herr hits third. Then the rookie Jim Lindemann spelling Jack Clark at first base. Willie McGee batting in the 5 spot. Tony Pena is the designated hitter tonight. He bats sixth. Jose Oquendo is in right. Tom Lawless, the big hero the other night in St. Louis, and Steve Lake is the catcher. It is Lake's first start in the World Series. He and McGrain work well. Pena DHs. Gladden, Puckett, and Brunansky in the Minnesota outfield with Gaetti, Gagne, Lombardozzi, and Herbeck, who hit the grand slam yesterday, comprising the infield. Tim Laudner back of the plate, and Frank Viola, who pitched Game 1 and pitched Game 4, now pitches again in the 7th game. The inside pitch on Frank from the Milwaukee Brewers, Paul Molitor.
Frank Viola's development of a changeup over the past 2 years has taken him from being a good pitcher to a great pitcher. The one thing he has to be careful about there is he occasionally might tip his pitches, holding his fastball lower in the glove as opposed to his changeup or his breaking ball, which he holds higher up into the webbing. The Cardinals should have some success stealing third against him, but he does a very good job of holding runners on first base.
So Frank Viola, who pitched so well in Game 1 and not very well in Game 4 when Tom Lawless homered, a 3-run homer, that was the big blow to knock him out, comes back with 3 days rest, Jim.
Oh, it certainly was, and he was so overpowering. Had a great changeup in the first game, and then in Game 4, first to admit everything was up, couldn't get his changeup over, made a mistake to Lawless for the 3-run home run. But you are looking at one of the best pitchers in the American League and of all of baseball, trailing only Dwight Gooden in wins along with Jack Morris. And we're talking about the winningest left-hander in baseball over the last 4 years. 17 wins this year, 16, 18, and 18.
So the crowd already standing and picking up where they left off yesterday when the Twins wanted to send it to 7. And here we go with Vince Coleman to start things off. Coleman, Smith, and Herr. Vince Coleman, who hit .268 during the regular season right-handed and really having his problems from this side in postseason.
Well, that's a good starting point. If you want to try to beat the Cardinals, keep him off base. As Paul Molitor says, if you get on, Viola has a good move. Only 5 successful steals out of 21 attempts.
Game 7 begins with a curve for a strike. And there must have been 1,000 flashballs popping as well. Dave Phillips, with the rotation, is the same umpire who was behind the plate in Game 1. And he called that game with Viola pitching. So he knows him very well, not only from regular season, but from postseason. 0-2.
Also, excuse me, one of the best umpires in the American League. In fact, Joe McGrain was asking. Hard to believe he can't remember how he umpired back in the first game, but as Whitey said, he's sometimes on Planet 7, but a good, consistent umpire, the one you want behind the plate for a big game.
Viola ahead, 0-2 on Coleman. Got him.
Something we did not see in St. Louis. They said he was much quicker in the first game in Minneapolis than he was in St. Louis, and this is a 90-plus fastball. Coleman can't catch up. Cardinal hitters will tell you, I don't know if it's the background or whatever, but it's harder to see the ball here. They saw it much better in Busch Stadium.
Now Ozzie Smith breaking ball low. The other night in Game 1, Viola started the game by getting Coleman on a comebacker. In Game 4, as he did here, he struck Coleman out. Smith hit .249 this season, right-handed, .335 the other way. So another advantage for the Twins tonight is they are able to turn around Coleman, turn around Smith.
And also turn around Tommy Herr and Jose Oquendo. Together, they are 2 for 25. I should say among the 4 of them. 2 for 25 from the right side. So only Willie McGee has been able to thwart the left-handed pitching of the Twins so far.
In the air to right center field, Puckett moves toward the gap and gets it. Quickly 2 down here in the first inning with the bases empty. And Tommy Herr coming up, and you have to stand that close, even if you're the home club, as Brunansky and Puckett have to go mouth to ear for communication.
I think when you talk to all the Cardinals, that's what they say. It's communication. You have to never can take your eye off a fly ball. You can't hear the guy next to you. If you're coming in from center field, you really can't hear an infielder calling off a ball.
Tommy Herr hit a home run yesterday. The Cardinals in this World Series have hit 2 home runs. Herr yesterday and, of course, Lawless the other night. But in the 6 games, St. Louis has been limited to 9 extra base hits. Twins have 18, including 7 homers. Tuido.
Well, Whitey in that interview in the pregame hit the nail on the head as you take a look at Whitey. He said we got to stay close. If we do, he thinks that the advantage tilts towards the Cardinals. They can run on just about all the relievers except maybe Schatzeder.
Speaking of tilting, Whitey in a new position. He's out of his lawn chair and onto the bench. You rarely see him sitting on the bench with the players.
And in between the battery of McGrain and Lake.
Yeah.
Little grounder to third. Gary Gaetti turns it into out number 3, and the Cardinals are gone in order after a half. St. Louis nothing, and Minnesota coming up.
Freddie Lynn on deck. The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays there.
They begin so small, and the game is so hard. But they have an incredible secret advantage. They have such heroes to inspire them. Aetna is proud to sponsor the 84th encounter between the best in the business and the best in the business. The heroes of October are with us again.
Gets the sign. Just like 4-1. Here comes the pitch.
Lineup tonight for Minnesota. Dan Gladden leading off. It's the same lineup they used yesterday to score 11 with. Gagne batting second. Kirby Puckett had a big day. He was 4 for 4, hits third. Cleanup hitter is Gary Gaetti. DH Don Baylor, big 5th inning homer yesterday and 3 RBIs. Brunansky batting in the 6th spot. Ken Herbeck, who hit the grand slam, batting 7th. Tim Laudner does the catching. Steve Lombardozzi at second base. So the Twins very much going with the lineup which got them here, while the Cardinal lineup is obviously, because of the injuries and other problems, somewhat skewed. Joe McGrain, the pitcher, the inside pitch on him from the Padres' Tony Gwynn.
I had a lot of trouble hitting Joe McGrain this year. He throws a fastball, breaking ball, changeup. But his best pitch is a fastball. And he sinks it, he runs it in and out. But I think the Minnesota Twins will have an opportunity to steal some bases against Joe. Even though he's left-handed, he's real deliberate going to the plate.
Tony Gwynn, the National League batting champion, so he should know. Outfield, Coleman, McGee, and Oquendo. Infield, Lawless at third, Smith at short, Her at second, and Lindemann at first. This is their lineup against left-handed pitching. Steve Lake does the catching with Pena as the DH and McGrain on the mound to face Dan Gladden.
And Steve Lake should neutralize the weaknesses that Joe McGrain has in his move to first base. He's a better throwing catcher right now than Tony Pena.
And they'll try to keep Gladden off the bases, and that's been difficult. Gladden has a hit in all 6 games. He's the only player on either team to boast of that, and he looks at a strike. Gladden, Gagne, and Puckett in the bottom of the first with no score. Joe McGain, very bright, very articulate, and loves his flaky image. Gets it over for a strike, and it's 0-2.
And he can also pitch when he's healthy. Started out the season 5-0, and then had some elbow problems. Went 2-7, and then 1-2 to go 9-7. Big game, 1-0 game on September 29th. And, you know, you look at 1-0, you said he was really in control. He wasn't. He was all over the place. Seems already with 2 pitches, he's got pretty good control.
And just misses inside, 1-2.
And that's that big breaking ball that Tony Gwynn talked about. He would like to be able to run the ball away from the right-handed hitters, run the ball away from Ken Herbeck, and get his breaking ball over. When he gets ahead, he'll come inside, but basically wants to throw that sinker away.
It's grounded and stopped by Lindemann. Shovels to McGrain. Nice play for the out. 1 gone here in the first inning. So they keep Gladden off the base paths, and it will bring up Gagne.
Well, that was a triple yesterday, Timmy. You see, this is almost the same swing, same ball, maybe a little bit more to the right of the bag, but instead of Dreesen being there, Lindemann is there and smothers the ball and makes a nice play.
1 out. Gagne is the hitter. Greg struggling in the series with just 4 hits. And yesterday he was 1 for 5. 1 out. Bases empty in Game 7 at the Metrodome. Think about Joe McGrain for a second. When Joe McGrain started the season, he's in the minor leagues. He's in Louisville on opening day. And here he is on closing day pitching for the World Championship.
Called up when Tudor broke his leg back in April after a good spring.
The injury to Tudor got McGrain to the majors earlier than Whitey Herzog had anticipated, and he made the most of the opportunity. Gagne around the bunt and missing for strike 2.
He was trying to push that ball between McGrain and Lindemann. Lindemann playing deep. You can play deep with 2 strikes, but a good idea by Greg Gagne. See, he wants to push it, and it's a good thing to do against the left-handed pitcher because all left-handers fall toward third base. So that gives you an even bigger hole to bunt the ball between the first baseman and the pitcher.
Oh, 0-2 the count. One out and the base is empty. Joe McGrain has moved around in his life. His father right now teaching at Morehead State University in Kentucky, but part of McGrain's childhood was spent in this area. And he pitched in this ballpark as a collegiate. He went to the University of Arizona and faced Minnesota a couple of years ago in the Metrodome. And he gets it. Ran it down and in on Gagne, and there are 2 gone with Kirby Puckett coming up.
And this is a point that you alluded to all series, Timmy. When you get ahead, you can make the hitter expand the strike zone. Look where this ball, it's an obvious ball, but you got to go at it. Tight spin on the breaking ball. Take another look. Makes him expand the zone, and he swings at the pitcher's pitch.
That's that disappearing slider. It serves as the illusion of a strike, but it's got a late break to it, similar to the idol of Joe McGrain when he was growing up, Steve Carlton.
And he finally got to meet Steve, in fact, the other night in St. Louis.
He did indeed.
Strike. 0-1.
And as glib as he is, he was almost speechless.
He really was. We, of course, we're all there, and Joe came up to meet Steve, and it was just wonderful. I mean, seeing the expression on his face, like a little 9-year-old boy meeting Steve Carlton instead of a guy pitching the 7th game of the World Series.
Well, it's funny because a lot of players block several things out, but McGrain is the kind of guy that he knows where he is, and he's relishing and trying to savor every moment. Obviously, he's thinking about taking care of the Twins, but he is the kind of guy, and we've gotten to know him a little bit over the past couple of weeks, who is fully aware of this particular point in time and what it means.
And at this particular point in time, I think he crossed up Steve Lake, and I believe, I mean, they're concerned about maybe the Twins have their signs, and Whitey more or less alluded. 29 runs. It looks like they're hitting all kinds of pitches. So I imagine they're using different sequences, even with nobody on, just to kind of confuse the Twins in case they are getting pictures. And right there, he crossed them up. You don't want that to happen with somebody on, a runner on third or something like that.
Yeah, you want to keep signs simple enough to get, but difficult enough to not have them being stolen.
2 out, bases empty, and 1-1 the count on Puckett. Hit slowly toward third. Lawless throws low, scooped late. Puckett beats it out for an infield single.
A lot of times when infielders feel the ball, they feel the ball in the web, and instead of throwing it with 2 fingers, they throw it with 3 fingers. I think that's what happened to Lawless on that play. A very close play at first base, but that ring finger is for rings. It's not used for throwing.
Well, we've seen Tom Lawless. Saw him in game 1. Does not have a strong arm. I really believe he has to play a little more shallower with a fast runner, even with 2 strikes.
You do give up something on the sharply hit balls by playing more shallow on the rug, however.
Gary Gaetti takes low, ball 1. 1-0.
Oh, well, he's out.
Yeah.
He was out. Very close play.
Again, I don't mean a radical departure from where you normally play, but a step or 2. I mean, a guy like Pendleton can play where he wants to because he's got a strong arm. Lawless doesn't have that.
2-0 the count on Gaetti.
Because if you go back to the infamous 4th inning in the first game, and I was talking to McGrain, he said, "Do you think they have my signs?" And it was a roller to Lawless, then a broken bat hit up the middle, then a bad pitch, Bernansky line drive. Herbeck followed with a grounder up the middle. Not exactly a lot of hard hit balls, but what contributed was walks.
2-0 to Gaetti. 2-1. Rick Rennick coaching at third. And Gaetti looking down to see if Puckett will be in motion.
Rick Rennick, the third base coach, what could have been a very serious fall last night. He fell down a flight of stairs with his hands in his pockets. You see a black eye, his right eye black, so we're thankful that Rick's not hurt.
2-1 the count. And it's hit toward the gap in right center field, but racing over is Oquendo, and he makes the catch. Great play by Jose. No score after 1.
With nobody out here in the 7th inning, and Roger Maris is the batter against McMahon. That's the first hit off McMahon, the second hit for Flood in the game. Maris has struck out and walked twice and scored a run. He has hitting room through the right side.
A half swing and a pop fly might drop for a base hit. It does. An extra base hit. Flood heads for third. Maris for second.
And he has a pop fly double with nobody out. McMahon will work off the pull. Trying for the play at the plate on Flood. The event of a ground ball.
Season after season, the people who brew Budweiser have been proud to be part of America's national pastime with you.
Outfield deep to the left for Cepeda. The windup by McMahon. Swung on, and there's the drive to left field. It might be gone.
Patty Schoenfeld is deaf and has a speech impairment, but a unique IBM computer system lets her talk on the phone. To help people with disabilities, IBM established a national center that provides information about special computer equipment made by IBM and other companies. So people like Art Sweet, who are almost blind, can read a financial statement. People like Neil Gill, who can't easily sign their names, can write a memo. And people who have difficulty using their arms, like Madge Pentecost, can use a computer by aiming an infrared beam. This IBM Center serves as a source of information for these and other innovations, so more people with disabilities can use their abilities. For information, write IBM Box C1030, Atlanta, Georgia.
Some outfielders, when they're going to their right, would elect to backhand this ball, but you see that little loop that Oquendo takes, and he makes a fine running catch.
And as he came back to the dugout, and even finer considering, again, the roof and also the crowd with not only the white Homer hankies, but a lot of people wearing those white Minnesota Twins American League champion sweatshirts.
Well, that's what Ozzie Smith said yesterday. He said, we haven't beaten ourselves. In fact, the Twins played worse than the Cardinals. What happened is they just got blown out of the ballpark. So defense, so much of their game.
Jim Lindemann starts the second inning by looping one into center field for a base hit. So Lindemann is 5 for 13 in the World Series, playing in a platoon role. The rookie leads off with a base hit in the second inning, and Willie McGee comes up. McGee with the most hits of anybody in the series, 9, hitting .391.
Everybody well aware that the Cardinals not only have to beat the Twins, but they have to keep the crowd out of the ball game. The best way to do it is to get an early lead. They did that last night until the 5th inning.
That's line in the left for a base hit. Gladden fields on a hop. Lindemann stops at second, and so the first two Cardinals get on here in the second inning, and it will bring up Tony Pena, who is the designated hitter.
Well, exactly what Frank Viola was afraid of, and you can see Dick Such saying up. You take another look, 2 high pitches, one to Lindemann, one to McGee. Look where it is. He has to be down in the strike zone. That's belt high in the middle of the plate. He cannot live there and be successful. 3rd consecutive start with 3 days rest. He said it doesn't make a whole lot of difference if you do it regularly over the course of a season. He has not done it. About the 5th or 6th time he's done it all year.
Tony Pena, who had 2 sacrifices during the regular season, with the Twins having to protect against the bunt, but he's up there to swing away and takes low and in. Nick Leyva flashing the signs from third, with Hrbek having to play in and Gaetti as well at first and third.
A lot of times what determines whether you bunt or not is who's following you. I doubt that they'll bunt here with the bottom part of the order coming up.
They've got Oquendo on deck, but then you go to Lawless and Lake. Curve is hit to left field and down the line and deep, and it is a foul ball. Foul ball, says Ken Kaiser with some emphasis as well.
And again, another ball hit hard, a high curveball. Good idea, 1-0 to come back with a curveball, but not in the position where he threw it. As you see the ball hooking, Viola gets away with a bad pitch. Pena out in front a little bit. He's not a pull hitter. We've been seeing him drive the ball to right field.
Tom Kelly told me before the game that they will try to get Pena out with breaking balls. Too many fastballs have been fed to Tony so far in this series.
Another fastball, though, is wrapped into center for a base hit. Lindemann around third comes in to score. Stopping at second is McGee. Cardinals lead 1-0.
Tom Kelly really frustrated before the game, saying Tony Pena has been getting one fastball after the other. We've told all of our pitchers to throw breaking balls. Possibly the fact that he hit the breaking ball well resulted in this fastball.
Exactly, and it was a good pitch in the sense that it was down, but if you know any scouting report on Pena, he likes the ball preferably away.
So now Oquendo, and it's the 7th game of the World Series, which means the bullpen. They will not wait. Oquendo, with the Twins still having to guard against the bunt, first and second. He's up there to swing away and fouls it off. And it's going to be Bert Blyleven who gets up. He is working on 2 days rest, but there he is. He's got all winter to rest.
Well, he was ready yesterday. In fact, he put his spikes on. They said, no way we will use you. And he said, just in case, and now he's up and throwing.
One and one to count.
To clarify that deal about Pena, you know, if the guy's a fastball hitter, that doesn't mean you can't throw him fastballs. What you try to do, however, is throw him fastballs where he can't hurt you. And with first and second, I would imagine that's what Tom was talking about, that if you're in a pinch, go right to the weakness of Pena. Game situations come at different parts of the game.
Lombardozzi ducking in to keep McGee close at second. Willie at second base, and Pena at first. Nobody out in the second inning. Cardinals have jumped on top, 1-0. Popped up. The infield fly rule is in effect. Hrbek makes it official. One away in the second inning. I don't know if the Twins could hear each other, but Hrbek was going to make sure Lombardozzi didn't come anywhere near him. And had Lombo come over, he would have gotten a black eye.
Well, that's the difference. You'll see Hrbek never, ever take his eye off the ball. You can't do that here. And that's the problems that visiting teams have. You take your eye off the ball, you never pick it up again.
One of the great lines during the playoffs was a banner saying, Hrbek, buy a vowel. All he has to do is look at his neighbor at second base. He can give him a couple.
Lombardozzi, or borrow one from Oquendo, maybe.
Yeah.
Lawless takes a strike, and the count 0-1. And the last time Lawless faced Viola, Busch Stadium erupted in Game 4. 3-run homer.
0-1 high fastball. I got the message right there that Viola was not throwing that well, only in the sense that he wasn't behind. Lawless, not a home run hitter. Only 2 hits before that. Jumped on a high fastball and hit it about 365, 70 feet.
Enough.
In the air to right center field and deep, but Puckett has room and makes the catch on the track. McGee tags and goes to third. Pena retreats to first. So Tom Lawless A deep drive again off Viola, but this time a long out, and it will bring up Steve Lake with runners at first and third, and 2 down.
Definitely a high ball hitter. This one, you can see where this one ends up. If he pulls it, it's a home run, but Viola went away up in the strike zone. Similar pitch that he hit for a home run, but instead of being inside, it was out in the outside part of the plate.
I think Lautner out talking to Viola now and telling not only Viola, but Gagne and Lombardozzi what he's going to do in case Pena tries to go to second. And the Cardinals tried to get a cheap run, which they may do with Steve Lake hitting Steve's first postseason at bat.
He came in earlier in the series to catch the 9th inning in Game 5, but didn't hit. And he hits it into left field for a base hit. So another sudden hero. 2-0 as McGee scores. Steve Lake.
Great line. He comes into the training room. He's watching the football game, and he says, 1 minute I'm watching the football game. The next time I'm starting the 7th game of a World Series. First pitch, base hit. Down middle of the plate.
As a matter of fact, Jim, Steve was telling both Al and me that he could be the hero tonight. He said, look at all the heroes so far.
He said, I'm the only Scribini who hasn't started.
Right.
2 out, first and second. Coleman swings and misses. The one thing you got to love about a Steve Lake, he was telling me a story the other night. Talk about life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. He watches the beginning of a game of the World Series on television in the clubhouse, and then he says, wait a minute, I'm here. And he opens up the doors, and he says, there it is. I walk into the stadium, and I'm in uniform. He said, it wasn't official, though, until I heard the opening billboards. 1-1.
Well, such a major part in their season. When Pena broke his thumb, he played early in the year. The reason McGrain is having him as his catcher tonight is because they've had such a great success. I think he's 5-1 with McGrain. Throws well, and he can hit.
2-1 the count on Coleman. So Blyleven still in the bullpen. Back of Viola. 2-0 St. Louis in the 2nd inning. And there he is, Viola, a 6.04 ERA, pitching under these circumstances, and 281 when he gets his rest. To shallow center field, Lombardozzi and Gagne go out, and it's Gagne for the count. But the Cardinals parlay 4 singles into 2 runs and a 2-0 lead the middle of the 2nd inning.
There's a place where time has stood still. Yorktown, Virginia.
A lot of tourists come here, and that was my problem. I run a hotel association reservation center. We couldn't handle all the calls. Our system seemed this outdated.
AT&T comes through with advanced telemarketing.
Since our AT&T consultant helped us redesign our operation, business is booming.
From equipment to networking, from computers to communications, AT&T is the right choice.
Here's to the winners, those who move mountains. Here's to the miracles they make us see.
Holiday Inn welcomes you, the people who know that winning at life is working hard at it and living it fully day after day.
Here's to the winners, all of us can be.
Holiday Inn salutes you. Here's to the winners. We're on your way.
I'm here for some straight talk about the stock market. It's important to everyone. It provides capital that creates jobs to make America grow. Emotions can run high during market turbulence, just when reason should prevail. We are confident in the markets. We've stayed active in them for all investors. America's economy is the strongest in the world with great ability to bounce back. At Merrill Lynch, we're still bullish on America.
Listen to the heartbeat of America. It's the rhythm of the moon. It's the pulse on the street. Starlight and neon light.
There's a hot new look on the street, a brand new beat. It's the new 1988 Chevy Cavalier.
The heartbeat of America. That's today's Chevrolet.
a little in-between psychology from Dick Such, the pitching coach, and that's what, of course, pitching coaches do. Help you with your mechanics, but sometimes soothe your soul.
I'll tell you, I'd rather have a hitting instructor as a batter soothe my soul than help me with mechanics. I think that's what batting practice is for. I don't think that belongs in a game unless it's blatant.
Don Baylor to start the bottom of the second inning. 2-0 St. Louis, taking a strike. Baylor, Brunansky, and Herbeck. Don Baylor with the Red Sox until August. Twins picked him up prior to the deadline. And his first homer as a Twin came yesterday. And what a homer. It tied the game. And eventually Minnesota went on to win 11-5. Joe McGrain. And Baylor with a strike. And Dave Phillips hit by the baseball, so shaking it off.
Well, breaking ball with one strike. You can't really see it from that angle, but this is why, even though he's hit, and you'll watch the ball spin away and hit Davey Phillips, first thing he does is look at the first base umpire for some help. Right there out of frame, even though he's probably hurting, and he gets the affirmation from Lee Wire.
Great. In the line of duty, in agony, he still makes the call, and Baylor gets hit by the pitch. And that's nothing new.
About the 226th time in his career.
Anytime you work Baylor inside, you're going to run that risk.
It's one of his defensive measures, really, and that's not applicable here because it's a breaking ball, but his big weakness is up and in, so he just turns into the ball and takes that away from the opposing pitcher. That time a breaking ball hits him in the foot.
Yeah, Jimmy, Don was hit 255 times. As a matter of fact, he broke Ron Hunt's record. The Hunter was hit 243 times. But usually it's not hit in that particular fashion with the breaking ball down and in.
Brunansky. Fastball low, 1-0. McGrain's reaction after hitting Baylor. Especially when you get ahead in the count.
Head in the count, head of the game, leadoff batter. A lot of reasons he's disappointed.
1-0 on Brunansky. Nobody out. Bottom of the second, 2-0 Cards. Toward the hole, base hit. Baylor stops at second.
That's the thing about the Twins in this ballpark. They refuse to let you take the crowd out of the game. They bounced right back last night, and they're trying to do it again this evening.
Ken Herbeck, first and second, and nobody out. One and oh.
See, that's fine to start Herbeck off with a breaking ball, but I would think he is looking for a fastball, trying to drive it. Can afford to look for his pitch here and see what McGrain does.
2-0. Wallace visits McGrain.
The thing about this crowd, it's almost as though they should go to spring training with the Twins. You got to be physical to watch a game here. Whew.
A check swing and a strike called by McSherry at third, and is Herbeck angry? I don't know how Phillips can hear him.
I think all his anger is directed at John McSherry, the third base coach. I didn't think so. What do you think, Jimmy?
Now you'll be able to tell better from here. Did he go across home plate? I don't think that's a swing.
I don't either.
Again, the guy that had the best view in the ballpark's John Masheri, and he called it. Did make Kent happy.
2-1. 2-2.
What's interesting, after you hit a grand slam, you've been in a slump, you'd think you'd be not aggressive enough that you can see right there, one hit it in 13s, and that's the grand slam off Kent Daly yesterday. He's taken some close pitches you'd think he'd swing at, not to criticize him, but he's been very patient.
3-2 on Hrbek.
Send the runners here?
I don't.
It's tough. Even though you do have a double play hitter hitting, you got a ground ball pitcher.
Hrbek struck out 60 times, not that much for a power hitter, but he grounded into 13 double plays. Tough ball here. Runners don't go, and he strikes out swinging. And that's a case where maybe they go if it's a right-handed pitcher, but not against the lefty. And how big now is that check swing strike now that he's gone on strikes?
Well, right in his power, low ball hitter, low pitch, and it sinks. That's the key. 3-2. McGrain has such a live arm. You think the ball is going to stay, and you can see right there the pleasure with John Masheri that Kent Hrbek displays.
Well, the great thing about this game is that there's no way the umpire can hear you from that distance. You're never going to get thrown out.
No.
Laudner rips it foul into the fourth row.
You could kind of see this coming. Watch Herbie, as he's affectionately known by his teammate, start his verbal barrage toward John Masheri.
Masheri, part of the heftiest umpiring crew in history. Strike 2. 0-2 on Laudner. Tim did not join the hit parade yesterday. Performed well early in the series, but as you see now down to 263, and he was 0 for 5 in Minnesota's 15-hit barrage yesterday afternoon. Baylor is at second. Brunansky at first. 1 out in the second inning. 2-0 Cards. One and 2.
I think that Steve Lake was asking where that pitch was. Again, it's very hard to talk to a catcher or a catcher talking to an umpire, but that curveball, the only place it was around the plate. Pretty good pitch.
That's grounded to the hole for a base hit. Baylor is being waved in. Here comes Coleman's throw to Lake. They get him. What a throw. Brunansky stops at second.
I'll tell you, if you're going to trade that out, Vince Coleman with 16 assists on the year, second to Glenn Wilson of the Phillies, who led the National League with 19. But we brought this up earlier. The reason he is so good at that, he charges the ball. But in my opinion, Brunansky and Laudner should move up on this play because of the ball being hit so sharply. I'll tell you, it looked like a high tag to me. The ball
looks like he's safe.
Looks like he's safe, but because the ball beat him, the little short hop and the tag. Yeah, he tagged him high. Yeah, he's safe.
Oh, yeah. Some of the people are booing. They didn't put it up on the big screen, but there are enough private boxes here that have televisions, and they saw what you saw. So you get about 20% of the folks booing, and those with the portable televisions as well. Pitch up and away. If they put that up on the big screen, this place would have come apart.
Take a look again. Looks like Baylor's right leg way across the plate before Steve tags him up the leg.
Yeah.
And now more people have access access to television monitors, and that's the booing you're hearing. Lombardozzi with the count 1-0.
Getting back to the other base runners, you saw Don Baylor thrown out trying to, Don doesn't run that well. If you're the runner at first base, you've got to look for the throw. If it's too high, that's what determines whether you go to third or not. A ball hit that sharply, the chances of a pretty good throwing outfielder like Coleman getting Baylor is pretty good. And he did nail him, but in the course of nailing him, you want to move your runners up 90 feet. Both Loudner and Bernansky.
Crowd is chanting safe, safe, safe.
He was. But the ball beat him by such a large margin, I can understand how Davy Phillips missed that call.
And that's the type of call. It's not that uncommon. You see that play happen a lot. High tag, foot there, but out. 2-0 on Lombardozzi. And that's wrapped into center field for a base hit. Bernansky will come in to score, throwing to second, getting back in there safely is Loudner. Danny Cox to the pen on 2 days rest. It's 2-1.
Oh, the first bad pitch, the truly bad pitch. Look where it is, belt high, middle of the plate. Lombardozzi, 3 hits yesterday, is on a hot streak. Today's no exception. McGee with a smart play, throws behind the runner, but he almost gets Loudner at second. Knew he did not have a chance. Good play by Willie McGee.
Dan Gladden grounded out in the first inning. 3 hits and a hit batsman here in the second. Change missing, 1-0. Whitey, a new posture, a new position, but he has to send Cox to the pen. One and one on Gladden. This has the makings, at least at the outset, of a very wild game. You've got Viola definitely struggling, working on 3 days rest. The rookie McGrain, the long man with 2 days rest in Cox, and the Metrodome. Good fastball.
It appears that Steve Lake is giving positioning to Joe McGrain, and it's the first spot he touches. If it's his left leg first, it's inside. The right leg, it's outside. And when you give position, usually it's a fastball. Let's see if it's inside again.
2-2.
Breaking ball.
So what you said is Steve Carlton, who you caught for years, was a fastball, basically away, slider in. So you can throw and show position on a breaking ball if you throw a hard slider, and that's what McGrain's throwing. He certainly doesn't want it out over the plate if he throws him a breaking ball.
Inside again.
Popped up. Tommy Herr is there. And he stays with it. Twins get a run. 2-1 Cards after 2. Back after this from your local station.
Have most married women had extramarital affairs? Cher Height's new book says yes, and it's causing controversy.
The great majority of women are saying that they're frustrated and dissatisfied with their relationships with men.
Now an ABC News poll suggests her conclusions may be unfounded. Monday, watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
It's been a long day, big boy. Feel like you still got something left? Sure you do. 'Cause you got one smart mama, and she got you off the ground this morning with a real winner. Howdy ho, wheat, time to gloat. 'Cause you don't wear no sugar coat. You just can't beat that pure whole wheat. Now go tell
What can I do for you?
I'd like to apply for a loan.
Name?
Chuck.
What do you do for a living, Chuck?
Well, I have a little
How
business
much do you make?
on,
Any debts or assets? Are you married or cohabiting, Chucky? Ever had a loan before? Do you smoke other than cigarettes? Ever been arrested? Do you sleep well? Any kinky habits?
If borrowing money brings out the beast in you, escape to TCF. We'll give you an answer within 8 hours on all kinds of loans.
You eat any strange food?
Television's most provocative investigative news magazine is here. A show about people, the stories that move them, and the impact on their lives. Every day we'll bring you shocking true stories, eye-opening exposés, interviews, and in-depth reports no one should miss.
There's trouble in American skies.
Join Maury Povich for 30 minutes that's live, bold, and uncompromising on A Current Affair.
Starting Monday at 6:30 on Channel 5.
Go Minnesota Twins!
Not only do you at home have the best view of that play with Baylor sliding in, but you would think Davey Phillips would have the same view of that play. The difference is it's happening much quicker.
We mentioned that no World Series has ever gone the distance with the home team winning every game. They've come close on those 4 occasions, but in each instance, the visiting team won Game 7. Ozzie Smith starts the third with a chopper to third, and he's thrown out by Gaetti. Watch him play every day, and you really appreciate him. The G-Man.
I only had to watch him about 13 games a year, and I appreciate it. But Ozzie Smith, the only way to hit this ball, you see Gaetti backpedal playing in for the bunt, and an awfully strong arm. See how Shawley's playing, sets himself. He's got a gun for an arm. They call it a rifle, and he throws him out easily. That ball's over his head. He's got to be looking fastball. He jumped on it, wasn't able to get a base hit.
Tommy Herr with 1 out. Tries to bunt his way on, but foul. 0-1 on Herr. Tommy grounded out in the first inning. 1 out, bases empty. We're in the 3rd inning of Game 7. Cardinals on top, 2-1.
The 26 pitches through 2 innings. That's really not an inordinately high number, but the results have not been good because, speaking of high, he's been up in the strike zone.
0-1 to Herr. It foul on the count, 0-2. Linderman on deck.
Tommy Herr has a most unusual batting style. It's almost like both feet are doing a pitter-pattering motion before he swings. Most hitters dig in with their back feet. Not true with Herr.
But you'd also call him a front foot hitter, which is why he doesn't have a lot of power. Most home run hitters really do pivot off that back foot, throw their hips in. He slides forward.
One and two.
Again, does not have the physical characteristics or makeup of a home run hitter, and he does what he does best, which is hit the ball back up the middle, Busch Stadium being a huge ballpark.
A lot of times there you see that little pitter-patter motion of Tommy Herr.
It's almost a rhythm.
Half swing foul.
A lot of times what determines whether a guy's going to be a home run hitter or not is not only power, it's lift in the swing. And as Jim pointed out, with that much movement, you're more likely to hit the top half of the ball and therefore not have as much lift as if you were to hit off your back leg.
He got a little bit of lift yesterday. Batting from the left side, he lifted it right into the upper deck.
Gave the Cardinals a momentary lift.
Yes, he did. Foul away again, and still a ball and 2 strikes on Tommy Herr. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Cards. 1 run, 4 hits for the Twins. Twins are trying to win their first ever World Series title since moving to Minnesota. The only time that this franchise has won a world championship was back in 1924 when they were the Washington Senators. Cards, of course, have won it as recently as 1982. And that's line foul. Twins in the World Series for the second time ever. The other time 1965 when they went 7 with the Dodgers. The 7th game was played at Old Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington. The difference was that day Minnesota faced a fellow by the name of Koufax.
2 days rest, 10 strikeouts, 2-0 victory.
Good change curve. Got it. They're way out in front.
That's what you can do when you get ahead. You can take a little something off. The ball ends up being almost a perfect pitch, maybe a little bit low. Look where Laudner catches it. Way out. You watch him reach out on his front foot. That's what you want. You swing at the motion. Try to pick it up as quickly as you can, but that's the definition of a good curveball. He just has that tight spin. You don't really recognize it.
Jim Lindemann has a fastball blown by him. 0-1. Foul, and it's 0-2. What's Lindemann's future? Well, they think of him as a right fielder. He's playing first base in the series because of the absence of Clark. And there is Jack Clark, ineligible for the series, and also a free agent. So if Clark comes back, then Lindemann does figure to go to right. And if he doesn't for some reason, then it's another story. 1-2 the count.
I've been very impressed with Jim Lindemann. He's battled all year long. He had a great spring training, great winter season. Of course, that is in the major leagues. You can see the postseason numbers, so he's really helped him get to the 7th game. The back problems have bothered him all year, and apparently you see him with the hot packs every day. Good quick bat.
Got him on a fastball. 3 up, 3 down after 2.5. It's St. Louis 2, Minnesota 1.